Well, welcome. I'm Rob Davis. I'm the City of Cedar Rapids Flood Control Manager. You're going to be seeing a presentation on the Cedar Rapids Cedar River Flood Control System 2021 update. We'll take you through some concepts that we've been developing over the past few years, walk you through the master plan, and then you get to see really what we're going to build this year and some of the upcoming projects. And we've got our contact information at the end. Should you have any questions, please feel free to email us. So this is the master plan for the flood control system. The flood control system is 7.5 miles of flood control along the Cedar River in the center, pretty much in the community here. It consists of several different types of components on the map there. When we've got room, we'll use earth and levee. Those take up the most amount of real estate, but they're also the greenest and easiest to maintain. Very eco-friendly. But when we get in the tighter areas, there'll be the blue areas, which are full height wall. And then when we get in the really the downtown core, we don't want to wall our city off from the river. And so we'll be using a combination of permanent wall to a lower elevation, and then we'll show some removable panels above that. And we have some examples as you go through this presentation, you can see what we mean. Some of the other factors that we have in this would be the gates, not only on the roads, but on the railroads. We have some for trails as well. In yellow, you will see those are stormwater detention ponds. We use those to slow the water that gets to the river from behind the system. And that's because there are two ways the city can flood. Number one, obvious, the river floods and it spreads water into downtown and surrounding areas. Well, when we build the flood control system, we close off that opportunity for the river to backfill into the land there. We'll close off all the storm sewer pipes, and then what happens if it rains? So if it rains, the water will lead to these stormwater detention ponds shown in yellow, and then there are 11 pump stations, which we will pump that stormwater out over the top of the system and into the river. So that's the other way we can flood, is if we get quite a bit of rain while the river is flooding. And that actually did happen to us in 2008. So we've got a robust system to protect from river flooding and from rainfall flooding behind the system. We've got completed segments throughout the 7.5 miles on the east side, the west side, upstream, downstream. Some of the examples here, show some of the amenities that we're trying to do with it to have the system blend in, be part of the neighborhood. On the upper left, we have our NewBo Levee, stands for New Bohemia. We've got a trail on top of that. It's a really nice walk along the river. On the upper right, we've got a pump station that was designed to look like the old Czech school house that's in front of it. So again, trying to blend into the neighborhood. The lower left is one of our more recent projects, the 16th Avenue Southeast Floodgate. It's our first rolling floodgate we've built for our system. And then the first system, part of the system with the McGrath Amphitheater, which you're actually sitting on the levee watching shows on the west side of the river there. And then we've got some other components where we'll build some pocket parks, et cetera. Lower right was completed on the 10-year anniversary of our 2008 flood. That's a memorial to the flood and the loss of the neighborhoods there. That's a very interesting one if you get out there. It's off of O Avenue and Ellis Boulevard. That curved wall there, the lower end of the wall is the 2016 flood elevation, which was basically the second highest of record, and it curves up to 9 feet taller than that, and you start to see that's the 2008 flood level, how much that neighborhood was underwater. So those are all completed segments. Now we're going to kind of focus on what you may see in the downtown area, because there's a lot of things going on. You may not realize they're flood control related. Some of them look like traffic signal work and storm sewer work, but we'll go through those and you'll see how they are related to our flood control system. So this first map shows the interstate on the top. We are on the east bank of the Cedar River. Quaker Oats is just off the screen to the top, and City Hall is kind of near the the bottom of the map there. The project that we've got going to get ready for floodgates, we'll be taking the traffic signals down underneath the interstate there on First Street Northeast, and that will go to an all-way stop. Signals really don't need the warrants for signal, plus they are in the way of roller gates there, so we're going to take those down this year. In addition to that, we will be removing the signals at First Avenue and the First Street. That's right here. That is necessary because we're going to be putting a flood roller gate across that road and having traffic signals that the heads need to be over the lanes, and we'll be moving traffic around as we build that. So we'll have to have new signals. Those will be wood poles and span wires where we can slide the heads across. We'll have to do some minor electrical work to keep the tree of 5 seasons lit at that time as well. So let's look at a little more detail. I mentioned Interstate 380 and the signals coming out. This area here is the, these are roller gates, these yellow here. We'll come out of the Quaker Oats property with a permanent flood wall, and then we'll have 2 roller gates. You can kind of see, well, one will store in the between the 2 lanes, eastbound and westbound, and then another one will store just downstream, and then they'll roll across when needed. They're similar to what we built at 16th Avenue Southeast. As of this point, though, 16th Avenue does not have the static panels put on it, but it will be the same system here, just a little different length and height. This is actually one of our shorter systems here. And as I mentioned, signals will come out. We do anticipate we'll have to close E and F Avenue. Those are the 2 one-way couplets over the river there. Those will be fully closed when these gates go in, and we're coordinating that with other projects. Currently, this is scheduled to start in 2022, and again, we'll coordinate with other projects to make sure traffic can go as smoothly as possible in the area. So going a little bit downstream from this, this is the Tree of 5 Seasons Park. We worked very hard in our flood system to try to make it invisible and blend into the background. And so sometimes that means you got to think in a 3D component. This is the Tree of 5 Seasons raised up about 10 to 15 feet. We raised the whole park up. And then when you're looking from the east to the west, you really don't see a flood wall there at all. Really what you see is you know, the city's logo, you see the nice park, and really just see the railings on top of the flood wall there. And so you come up about 15 feet there. I'd also point out we're going to rebuild the park with a bike trail along First Street, northeast here, that will connect from the west side to the east side. We will have traffic reductions while we do this, but again, we'll have First Street northeast will be maintained open. This is looking at it from the west bank towards the east. You can't hide the flood wall in this location because we've raised the park up, but you know, obviously the river side sits lower. But what we're planning on doing is you know, landscaping some areas and possibly considering in this rendering bringing some access down towards the river here. So really trying to hide the flood control system and then still allow access to the river, not wall the city off from it. So there'll be some opportunities for some lower level landscaping here. We got to be careful because certainly it could flood. But we do want to enhance the look of that from some of the kind of rough looking banks we have today. In a little more detail, I mentioned the bike connection. So what we would do is have there's 3 lanes right now eastbound under the interstate on E Avenue. We would convert one of those to a 2-way bike trail and put a barrier between that to protect the bicyclists. That's not necessarily with the flood control project, but we are setting the system up so we can do that. Then they'll be able to come through the Tree of 5 Seasons Park along the curb of First Street, cross First Avenue, and then get onto the east bank of the river, and then continue downstream from there. So we've got a direct connection now and a plan to connect to, say, upstream at Ellis Park, come down the west side of the river, come under the interstate, and then connect to the river trail that exists along the east side. So again, really trying to take advantage of the opportunities to improve our networks, not just to protect from flood control. I do show here the conversion of First Street Northeast to 2-way. As we build this, we're going to set this up and set curb lines as we rebuild them. The First Street could be converted to 2-way between First Avenue and A Avenue. This will not come all the way through so you can get on the interstate here, but it will allow for First Avenue, from A Avenue, and you can get on the interstate up at 7th and 8th Streets area there. A little more to my point that we have some projects that may not look like flood control. This is one of them, First Street Northeast Storm Sewer. This is scheduled for spring start 2021. Right now, all the storm sewers come out underneath the First Avenue Bridge, big outlet. Well, every time we have a crossing of the flood control system, that's a weak point. And really what we want to do is consolidate all the outfalls to the river. And so what we're going to do here is get that out of the way of the roller gate, the closure gate, and we're going to take this blue line here, and we're going to connect that to a new outfall over here. Eventually, we will direct it into the pump station and back out so that if we need to pump over the top of the system, we can. This pump station is a future pump station here. We're also going to remove the hydroelectric facility that sits right here in this map. That will also come out starting later in 2021, really setting up the system so that the last thing that goes in the flood wall. So the flood wall is the black line here, again, filled up on the dry side, and then you'll see the wet side, you'll get to see that wall. This is the future pump station. And so again, the last thing you really see is the flood control wall and pump station, but there's a lot of work that goes on in advance of it, and such as the storm sewer work, sanitary sewer relocations, traffic signals, etc. This drawing here is the First Avenue Southeast roller gate. It is scheduled to start right after the Freedom Festival in July of 2021. It'll continue into the spring of 2022. So it'll sit on the upstream side of First Avenue, and it will roll across the road and lock in between these two columns. Kind of see this, kind of see a white line here. That is the kind of the casters will roll on some tracks there. If you go to the 16th Avenue Southeast, that's the first one that we built, and it'll be very, very similar, just a little bit longer. We do expect that these can close in less than 45 minutes. And again, we will have First Avenue open to traffic at all times, but lane reductions as well as parking reductions will occur as we shift traffic over and try to build this on half of the time. The City Hall component, I mentioned that we'll be coming across First Avenue with the bike trail. And so this is how it would look like. We would come through the flood wall and get on the riverside here. I mentioned before what I call the combination wall with a lower permanent wall and then a section that we can put some removals above. That's kind of what this would look like here. I'm not trying to wall the city off. These from the river, this is about 3.5 foot high wall, and then we'll have about 8 foot of removables above that. In certain areas, we do have to be careful. There will be some full height permanent wall right along First Avenue. That's because this is perpendicular to the river flow, and when that's the case, we do want to use solid concrete walls instead of the removable aluminum because of the potential for impact hit to that. We're going to take some opportunities also to, since we have to go to full height walls, we put backup generators for pump stations back there, as well as for City Hall. So we're going to make some lemonade out of lemons. If we got to build a permanent wall there, we are going to use that opportunity to hide some of our equipment. This is this drawing here is Second and Third Avenue floodgates, where we don't have the room for the roller gates like we just showed under the interstate or First Avenue. We have to do a system which is a stackable and removable panel gate system. So we'll have permanent columns in the sidewalk, but then we will have to bring in some temporary columns both ends of the street, and then have some stackable horizontal columns or horizontal slats. They're 8 inches high, 12 inches long, and they'll weigh about 95 pounds, and they'll be stacked in there. This one takes more like 6 hours to put up, but the good news is when you're done, you don't have to see it. It's not in place every day. This is Second and Third Avenue, like I mentioned. Third Avenue is the first one being built. That is currently closed and will be open in June of 2021. And then we will go to the First Avenue gate, and then we'll come back and do Second Avenue 2022. This next slide is also Third Avenue. You can see what it looks like when the system is taken down and off-site. You'll just see the columns in the sidewalk there. Just kind of going back up, you can see it looks like then when it's closed. and then when it's back open. Another project that's going to affect downtown, may not look like the flood control component, is really putting a storm sewer trunk line down First Street, southeast between 3rd Avenue and 5th Avenue. Really what's important about that is we have redundancy in our pump station system. We've had several pump stations, as I mentioned. This one here at 3rd Avenue is within the CRST building, and then there's one here that'll be near the Great America parking lot, the old IMAX Dome of Economic Alliance. And we will be connecting those with a 72-inch pipe. Currently, there's a 48-inch pipe. But by having these systems interconnected, should a pump go down, it's another way of having some redundancy in our system. And it eliminates an outfall here at 4th Avenue. So by consolidating our structures, connecting our storm sewer to our pump stations, we now have a much more robust system, and that will start late of 2021. We'll start down in near 5th Avenue, work our way north towards 3rd Avenue. We are going to be again very cognizant of traffic, and we're not going to go through the 3rd Avenue intersection until that 1st Avenue project is complete. That's the current plan. So we keep traffic going as smoothly as possible. So we'll kind of sneak this in between 1st Avenue completing and 2nd Avenue starting. This continues going downstream here. We look at, this is the old Smulkoff's building at the East Bank building currently at 3rd Avenue and 1st Street. We have, this is the gate I just showed. This blue line is permanent wall, and then this purple line here is a combination wall. And here's an example of a combination wall that we took a photo here in the Quad Cities. Ours may look a bit nicer. This is just straight concrete, but we'll have some aesthetic design on the wall. But it just shows a good example of, this is a full height removable wall coming down to the sidewalk. We will have something like this if we have a bike trail coming through or pedestrian coming through. Most of the time we will have this low height wall, which will serve as fall protection. It will also serve as a means to not have to put the removables up very often. We're looking at setting this sill at the 100-year flood elevation. And by doing that, it'll be very, very rare that this system would ever have to go in above it. We've only had one flood above the 100-year storm so far in history. That's in 2008. But the idea is that we still have to go out and test this. So more often than not, when the system is going up, it'll actually be test run. In order to build this area, we will have to dislocate the parking back here because we'll need to have contractor staging here. But this is one of the later projects scheduled for 2023, 2024 timeframe. Here's an example, another one of these removable walls where you've got to pass through. This is a rendering currently. What could occur at 6th Avenue Southeast. This is the Great America building here. This is our idea of what it could look like with the system not in place. You don't even realize this is a flood wall. And then this is what it would look like if there is a flood in place. Just to add to the ease of this system, every one of these stop logs right now, these removable panels are being designed so they're the same height and they're the same length, and anything that could be needed over 6th Avenue could also work over at City Hall and could work anywhere in between, and whether it's on the top or the bottom, they're all going to be the same. So it should help quite a bit in resiliency. Just as a kind of reminder, this is the schedule at a glance. So these projects we just talked about, starting from 1st Street, Northeast Storm Sewer starting in the spring of 21, to the later projects such as that 4th Avenue Riverfront. As we work our way downstream, those will be kind of later ones. And again, I think the thing to point out is we're being very careful to close one road at a time to do this, or affect traffic on one road at a time. So we'll finish 3rd Avenue, we will go to 1st Avenue, and we'll have some short duration closure on 3rd Avenue, get that storm sewer project across, and then we will do a gate on 2nd Avenue. So appreciate everyone's patience as we do these, and we're doing our best to keep traffic disruptions to a minimum. Some of the other projects away from downtown that are a little more spread out. Uh, this is a picture here is an example of an 8th Avenue bridge concept we have. We'll get into that a little bit more. One of the projects we have 2 bridge raisings. I just mentioned 8th Avenue, but this one is actually under construction right now. This is Shaver Road Northeast at McLoud Run. This is International Paper here, Alliant Energy, the Schimberg, our water plant, treatment plant is right here. And this is McLoud Run. The thing about this is it's a truck route, and the Cedar River backs up into McLoud Run to 380 and inundates this area. And so we want to make sure that we can get across our flooded areas and occupy these areas as the river floods. And one of the key components is you have to have that transportation element. So we're in the process of rebuilding Shaver Road right now, 8 feet higher, so we can get over the top of our flood walls and levees. And then we're also going to take that opportunity to make some improvements to McLoud Run. For the trail component, we will come back with a future trail bridge here to get from the J Avenue side and then get underneath the Shaver Road. Right now, it's a very awkward situation where the trail ties into the bridge and has more than a 90-degree bend and there's some 4-foot sidewalks. So it's a tough condition. Currently, we're going to drastically improve that by separating the trail from Shaver Road, although we'll have some connections to it. And then we're going to build a trail parking lot here so we can further access it. And then maybe one of the hidden gems here is McLoud Run just downstream of the bridge I mentioned. Would be to convert that to a urban trout stream. Right now it's a concrete channel. We will redo that entirely and have the ability so the fish habitat will be welcome there. And there'll be some trails not only on the top of the levee, but also some fishing trails on the bottom. And you can see we've got this picture here shows a nice example of a low flow channel so that it's not spread out so that there's enough depth of water to support the fish habitat. So a great environmental enhancement to the flood system. This McLoud Run area I mentioned, it's under construction now on Shaver Road, and then we'll be bringing a levee in this area. So this red is a closure of the Cedar Valley Nature Trail. It started in 2020 and projected to be at least 3 years that will be detoured while we build the flood control system, raise Shaver Road, build a pump station, etc. The detour is on 10th Street Northeast, and that's the frontage road along the interstate. So that will remain in effect. We've closed that at this point to vehicular traffic. So it seems to be working pretty well as a detour for the route that's here, but eventually we will get back to this red route and it'll be a kind of an enhanced improvement. It'll be on top of the levee, and we'll even go with the levee in the lake here and separate the lake amenity from the rail yard. So it'll be much more scenic. We'll have trailhead, we'll have pedestrian benches, scenic viewpoints, which will greatly enhance the Cedar Lake area and the McLoud Run area both. Some areas in time check that we'll be working on. This shows an example on the top one is EMF Avenue Northwest reconfiguration. Anyone who's familiar with coming north on Interstate 380 and getting off for underneath the interstate here at the river for First Street, you know that you cannot make a left turn. You have to make a right turn only. And then if you're on E Avenue, which in this drawing is shown removed, comes through and connects to underneath the bridge, you can't make a right turn on that one. Well, as part of the flood control system, we're going to build a gate here, convert F Avenue to two-way, and we'll remove E Avenue. That will drastically simplify coming off the interstate so that you can come off the interstate and make a left turn and work your way into this neighborhood. So that project's just a few years off, but we are in the planning for that and kicking off the design of this project in 2021. And then upstream a bit is O Avenue Northwest. We built the gateway arch on O Avenue. I mentioned that before. That's the one with the curved wall here to the left. This was built 4 feet taller than needed to be and also a bit wider because we'll be coming through with a levee, and then the roadway will be elevated to go up and over and into the west side greenway area. So that's planned. There'll be some very minor modifications to that park that we've already built, just in order to build the roadway a little bit higher. But again, the arch does not have to be adjusted. It was understood when we built that what the levee would look like. This one is pretty exciting. We've been working on the Quaker Oaks flood wall. We're going to finish our 4th years of construction there. You know, Quaker is the Cedar Rapids plant has its largest production of anywhere in the country comes out of Cedar Rapids. So this was quite a challenge to get this built and keeping that plant operational. Again, it's going to protect the 2008 flood volume. We've gotten 2 pump station upgrades, a major water transmission line relocated with this project. That's a 36-inch diameter pipe and carry a lot of potable water. 30% of the city's supply down towards the southwest side comes through this water main. And then the last phase that may not be quite as obvious, and the flood wall sticks out in this rendering, is a railroad closure gate will be built. All in all, we started this project in 2013 and we'll finish in 2021. And we've been having near weekly meetings with Quaker since then. It is extremely challenging to build this flood control system in an urbanized area. And a lot of things have to be moved. I think this was a really good example. And it kind of shows that we've not really taken any time off. We've worked through all the design details, and then it takes 4 years to build. So I think it's a good example of why we need that patience, because we need to keep the businesses operation. We don't want to impact them to the point where they can't function. Some other things we're doing, the amphitheater flood wall. We're extending that flood wall out of the McGrath Amphitheater coming downstream. Here, we're going to take the opportunity of building connected to that flood wall as a restroom and storage building. We've got the second floor, which is above the 2008 flood. That will be a restroom building to serve the amphitheater, and that will allow for the elimination of the porta-johns that have gone out there in the past. And then the first floor will be floodable storage areas. So right now in the past, we've had storage trailers sitting out on site along the river. Those will not be needed anymore. Those will be able to store inside the building. We will do our best to eliminate anything for potential damage inside that first floor. We'll bring all the electricity out down from the ceiling, for example. That project is scheduled to be completed in spring of 2021 and be available for shows this year for the restroom. So very exciting. It's going to be a great enhancement to the experience at the amphitheater. And then we're working on a plan to extend the flood wall coming down further to the south from there, possibly as early as 2023. This is the 8th Avenue Bridge project, and the plan for this one is to raise this road as well as Shaver Road over the top of the flood control system. It's really important that we have transportation element preserved during the flood. Back in 2008, we really only had Interstate 380. This will be a second crossing of the Cedar River open, and with the flood control system to build it, to operate it, to maintain it during a flood, we definitely need to have a local access road. It'll also serve for emergency services, hospitals, fire, police, etc., as well as the general transportation needs, because the expectation, long-term would be that the evacuations don't occur. And if that's the case, we're going to need a reliable transportation system. This is really definitely part of the flood control system, because every one of those piers in the river can back up water. We're going to raise the bridge and then put only one pier in the river. Fewer piers in the river means the water can flow through better and it won't back water up behind it. Additionally, we'll be improving public gathering space here. This is currently festival grounds, but it's really mostly just vacant right now. We will be developing that as a public gathering space. Definitely will complement the bridge as well as complement the McGrath Amphitheater. We do expect to have some indoor and outdoor spaces there. This also shows some trail connectivity on the bridge, and direct connections will occur to the trails on both the east and west banks of the river. We have started relocating some utilities for this project. We don't expect the main structure is to start until 2023 and later. Here's an example of the bridge concept that we currently have. You know, it may change somewhat from this, but I think the important thing to note is one pier in the river to get this water to flow. Because if you look at this picture, it's a really good example of how narrow the river gets here. This is one of the pinch points, and so you don't want to have obstructions at that narrowest point of the river. Some other things to go through. This is the Lot 44 levee. This is 8th Avenue on the east side, and then 12th Avenue. This levee was mostly completed in 2020. That's in the solid orange. So it's permanently removed from parking. We're going to maintain this area here for flood control for a little bit, to store, and also for stage for other phases of work, such as 12th Avenue roller gate. But we will have those areas shown in green here open at all times for parking. So we'll make sure that at least there will be some parking in this spot. And it's an underutilized lot right now. You can kind of see in the photos here. There should be plenty of parking for the needs between the two green areas. I mentioned the 12th Avenue gate. This is the picture we took on 16th Avenue, and they're going to start all looking similar to roller gates. Again, that can roll in place in 45 minutes. The 16th Avenue gate is completed except right now for aesthetic panels, which will go in here, but this is fully functional as a gate that can roll across the road. That gate opened in the fall of 2020. Starting in the fall of 2021, we're going to close 16th Avenue, put this on the west side. Those of you may ask, why don't we do them at the same time? There are a couple of reasons. One, we wanted to make sure that we worked out any kinks we had with the design rather than building multiple runs at the same time. Please report that it's working well, this gate works well. And then also we wanted to get this started with the Army Corps of Engineers to get their involvement in Cedar Rapids. So we're going to go back to 16th Avenue Southwest in the fall of 21 and finish probably late spring of 22 with a gate. Almost exactly the same as this on the west side of the river. And then as soon as 16th Avenue opens in 2022, we'll jump over and put a gate on 2022 to 2023 on 12th Avenue Southeast. So when that happens, both 16th Avenue will close fully for its, will reopen, and then 12th Avenue will fully close. But we will have a trail detour in place at all times so that it can that can be maintained, because that's important. So we will be putting trail on 12th Avenue when 16th Avenue closes, for example. This is the 12th Avenue gate, currently scheduled for 2022 summer start once we finish 16th Avenue. So permanent flood wall here in blue, and then the gate, roller gate here, which would sit in this area here and roll across, look like all the other gates we've shown. One thing to note here is when we do this project, the city will add a roundabout, mini roundabout to 12th Avenue and 2nd Street Southeast. There'll be likely be some modifications to the museum entrance too. Right now their entrance is pretty close to the wall, looking at making some changes to that to make that more inviting and fit with the flood wall there. As we kind of near the end of this presentation, 16th Avenue, Floodgate and Archway, I mentioned the gate will go in. We're also going with that project to extend flood wall on the Czech Museum. And kind of exciting, we'll be putting archways over the west side of 16th Avenue, and then we'll also be putting an archway over the gate that's already been built on the east side of 16th Avenue. There'll be some re-landscaping by the clock tower as well in Czech Village to accommodate the flood wall. This is another archway concept showing that it'll be lit at night. And then Moserick Park. There was a park along the river, and that was taken out when we built the Sinclair levee. We'll be putting that back starting mid-spring 2021. It'll be finished by the fall. There'll be the 3 flags to Tomas Moserick Monument. We've kind of split up some things. The Kuba portion was already rebuilt over here to kind of separate us out almost like a walking trail from historic walking trail, and then there's another one on top of the levee as you work your way down. So we had a bigger park. We kind of split it up into some smaller segments. That will again be completed in 2021, and it'll also do a good thing and kind of minimize the look of the gate here between the park in front of it on the left side there, and then the arch over the top. It may make the floodgate a lot less noticeable. And then one of the ones that engineers such as myself get excited about are some of the projects you can't see. Much of this work is underground to this flood control system, utility relocations. One of the things that's going to happen in Czech Village by the end of the year will be, there's a major storm sewer outlet here, and that will have a backflow gate put on that. It's under construction right now, and that will prevent the river from backing into the storm sewer and coming out in this neighborhood. It's a 7-foot diameter storm sewer right now, so you can imagine that can back up, take a lot of water from the Cedar River. So that'll be finished. We'll close up that gap in the levee right here, and then that will be the site of a future stormwater pump station. But to get that done this year with the gate on the storm sewer is huge. So with that, that's kind of the update where we're at for 2021. I really appreciate your sticking with us. I know this was a lot to absorb. Please visit our website at cityofcedarrapids.org, or you can go to cityofcr.com. That's /flood control. Both those web addresses work. And if you have any questions, please feel free to email us, floodcontrol@cedar-rapids.org. Again, thank you. I appreciate you going through this, and look forward to a great project, great construction year.